Hi, we're back again with another segment of our t-shirt quilt, and now I want to talk about how to square up the blocks. And I'm just going to turn this one sideways. One of the tricks that I've learned over time is set your block up on your cutting table, and as you do the square up, don't turn your block, turn the mat. The less you touch your block and the less you move it around, the better your chances are of getting it to the size that you're looking for. So in this situation, we know that our blocks are the right size. You want to have a ruler that has lines going both directions, and your zero is always going to be in the upper right hand corner. So for this block, remember we said that we set this up so that we could square down and cut off some of our fabric. I want to make this 1.25 inches. We need a finished 1 inch, and we started out with 2 inches of fabric. We lost 1/4 inch in our sewing, and now we're going to square this up to 1.25 inches. So I'm lining up 1.25 inches all the way up the right hand side and all the way across the top. And how I like to square up not only my blocks but my quilts is I always get as much cutting as I can in one fell swoop. So in this situation, I can cut up the right hand side, and then I'm going to move my hand and I can cut all the way across the top, and I've got two sides completely squared up, and I haven't moved my block yet. And I obviously need a new rotary cutting blade. So I'm just going to cut this. Okay, and remember we said we don't want to move the fabric, we want to move the mat. So I know those two edges are squared up. I'm just going to pick up my mat and turn it around. And now I'm going to do the same thing. I'm only going to square this up 1.25 inches off the seam. And I'm just lining up the line here, and I'm lining it up all the way across, and it looks perfect on that direction. Since I know I have a nick in my blade, I'm going to cut twice before I move the fabric. That way I have a much better chance of getting it cut without having it pull. And there you go. This block is finished, it's perfect, and it's ready to be sewn to the quilt. The next thing we're going to do is add a sashing strip in between here, and then we're going to, don't forget to close your rotary cutter, and we're going to add it to the bottom of this strip. I wanted to talk about this for just a second because one of the fun things that we did was we cut a pocket out. The emblem was on the pocket, and we cut out the square of the t-shirt with the pocket in place so that when this person has the quilt, we'll quilt around it. They can put a tissue, or maybe Jean wants to put a little love note in the pocket for Brian for the next time he curls up on the couch. But anytime you can add some of these textured elements into a quilt, it's going to add just a little bit more love to it. So now we're going to sew this strip together and get ready to put our quilt together. So we have all of our blocks done, and we have our strips, our rows ready to go, and we need to make this quilt a little bit wider. So what we've done is we've created what we call expansion joints. We've created what we call expansion joints to put in between the rows of the quilt to make it wider. I don't like my quilts to be any wider than about 80 to 85 inches, and I'll tell you why. We discovered a while ago that Shannon Fabrics and Benartex both make the Minky and Oh So Soft 90 inches wide, and there is nothing better than curling up under a quilt that has Oh So Soft or Minky. So if you keep your quilt at 85 inches, you can use a full piece of that on the back of it. So to make our quilt wider, to make this quilt wider and get to that 85 inches, we need 2 expansion joints between the rows. And I'm calling this a row and this a row. So how you make these is you use, in this situation we use 2 strips of fabric and we put a bias seam in them. And one of the tricks to think about when you're sewing long strips like this together is that you don't want it to curl, and it will twist and torque and curl like that because you have the presser foot pressing and pushing, and you have the feed dogs pulling. So the trick is you're going to sew down one side, all the way to the end, and then when you get to the bottom, turn it around and sew up the other side. That keeps it from twisting and turning into a rainbow, and it'll keep your strips, your expansion joints really straight. The other thing to know is that you want to press them into the middle so that you have the largest part of the fabric on the outside. So press to the middle, and then it pops that center focus fabric right to the outside of that strip set. Now we're ready to put these all together. And hence, don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel and ring the bell so that you get notifications of our next video. We'll see you soon.